Iris and I started working together, we had a conversation about how life begins and how the doubles of ourselves work as shadows. And this sense of rippling back and forth turned into an idea for multiple bubbles and lenses that might wrap all around our bodies. We translated it into some very new work just for this month. And these are drawings that are first traced as flat sheets, and then they turn into laser-cut zinc-plated metal. And then we form each one, and then we pattern them and gather them. And what we've been trying to do is create a kind of foam-like, hovering, kind of scintillating world that might wrap all the way around our bodies and also carry light through. So each tiny little bit of reflection turns into a reflection and then scintillates as it moves and reflects all the way around us. One of the conversations that happens is the moment of giving and then of taking. I might, in my conversation with Iris, suggest that here this set of bubble-like tiles might intersect and look at the kind of shadowing and the scintillation that happens between them, the layering. And this is perhaps something that I offer Iris. And then she takes that, this little sample, literally, of metal, and then compounds it and bubbles it all together and then wraps it around and completely surprises me with a new moment. For example, here, I was expecting this to be just a bodice, and then she raised it up and made it into a whole jacket and a cloud that reached far, far beyond her body. A complete surprise, almost like it was a delirium. And this kind of continual back and forth, the conversation, is something that very often happens between us, where each of us in turn plays, turns it inside out, perhaps spins and offers something back. It's kind of a very joyful kind of conversation. Sometimes it happens right in the moment where we are together and we offer a sample back and forth, or sometimes it happens over several months in which I will send a sample to her. She'll offer a whole silhouette back and then ask me, could I make this in a large sheet and could we wrap it around like this? We might have a Skype call or we might visit directly in person in the atelier. But through all of those waves and cycles, something very close to natural evolution happens.
I made my collection Hybrid Holism inspired by the work of Philip. By that time I didn't know him yet, but I felt very inspired by his world. And then he found out about that collection and he came to visit me in the atelier. And that's the moment, I think it was 2013, that we started collaborating together on the first show was Voltage. And we haven't stopped working together since. We much more understand our worlds and the differences, but also the things that are actually quite similar. We are going much further in the collaboration than we did before. Before the process would be a lot shorter, and I know because from experience the collaborations really take time. I really start a lot earlier working on the textures and the techniques with him because I really know it will take time. It's really a continuous process, where before I would really work with him on a collection. Now it's a continuous collaboration where we just share our worlds. If I find something, I'll send it to him and the other way around. And even if we don't use it, it's sharing knowledge. Yeah.
The slight funky quality of
Yeah.
When I think of the last year, our conversation between Iris and I has gone through some quite different states. And the collection 6 months ago, which was called Between the Lines, was a collection in which multiple elements undulated and rippled and made vibrating moires. And that, which was worked in very, very fine laser cutting, really pushing the mechanical part of fabrication right to its very limit in terms of tiny, tiny filaments all oscillating together, was then pushed further during this last 6 months, in which we laid on velour and flocking and velvets, and we extended this work here. And you can see this kind of oscillation as I very gently move this fabric. I really love the idea that something can be two-dimensional and then that it moves into a three-dimensional kind of oscillation as well. And so this is a new phase, but then which changed rather fundamentally into a bubbling kind of vocabulary that extended far outside the body in this new work that then was composed of metal in order to capture vibration and light and cut very differently from this soft kind of fibrous material of before. So this is like a change completely, like a surfacing in and out, and kind of a delightful kind of waking out of one dream right into another.
Especially in volume, we work very differently. We work for one body, so proportions are completely a different thing. He fills up complete spaces, so I think he much more thinks about the process of making an installation. That's very much part of his installation as an end result. For me, the process is important, but that's more a personal experience. What I will give to the world in the end is a dress, and not an immersive installation where people walk in. So I think the difference is very much outside versus inside. Yeah.
The scale of this work is, of course, extraordinarily intimate, and it extends our own skin. In fact, perhaps even it moves below our skin as well. And I'm an architect. I work with public scales as well, buildings and urban spaces. The idea that those are different maybe is something that we all take for granted. I mean, the intimacy or the human scale, or perhaps the great public responsibility of framing public space. And yet, what the conversation with Iris has given me is a sense that through expanding our boundaries into a kind of an expanded physiology, and then gathering those into realms which lie very far away, it starts to intersect with the act of building. And it's actually encouraged me to really open the envelopes and canopies and floors that I've been responsible for with my colleagues in my practice. By opening those and starting to make those, instead of rigid closed envelopes, into lacy basketworks and multiple layers that extend into the environment, there now is somehow a continuity, a continuous kind of gradient. And if I were to be asked what the difference is then, fundamentally, between a work of art and a work of a building, I don't think I could actually say that there is a difference. I don't think I could tell, really, where a boundary would be. Instead, it's a kind of delicious spectrum of possibility in which things profoundly interpenetrate and play.